The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Oh, we no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined, as always, by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner,
and the dementedly fermented
Wayne Baker.
Now, today we are on location. We're out and about yet again, and I feel like I have to stop pointing that out because we're rarely home at this point. So just assume we're out and about unless I tell you we're home.
Yeah, it's more of an occasion if we're back in the basement.
Yeah, this is here forward. We're on location unless I say, oh, we're home, and it feels good to be home. But it also feels good to be out. But anyway...
I got $10 that says you'll forget that by the next recording.
Yeah, he'll say it every episode. It's all right.
Yeah.
You know what I have the benefit of, though? Editing this between now and then. So...
Even so.
I'm going to remember. And even if I don't, I'll remind myself, hey, Dan, remember this. Anywho, we are on location somewhere I'm very happy to be. And it's been a long time coming. We have an old friend with us at the table. We have Mr.
Ethan Buckman.
Now, Ethan, for anyone who remembers, was with us at Sour Sunday, the beginning of the year. Well, if you're listening to this at normal hour timeline. But when we recorded at Sour Sunday with John Stemler there as well, Ethan was there joining us because he's got Stickman Brews.
Yep.
And you were the former head brewer there as well, right?
Yeah, I was. I was at the head brewer at Free Will for about a year before we opened this place.
All right. So you've got a good brewing background leading you to here. And we had some of your beers while we were there, and they were fantastic. I remember one had to do about student debt. I don't remember.
Crushing student debt.
I remember that one. That was very good.
Psychosomatic.
That's right. Well, I'm looking forward to the beers that you have tonight, and I was looking over some of the notes, and you even mentioned there may be a small surprise that we might go green a little bit.
So we, in addition to the other beers we're tasting, there's a beer called Capitalism. That is,
of course there
that's
is.
Perfect.
Of course there is.
It's a Golden Strong with cherries in it.
Oh,
and it is lagering in the Bright Tank right now. So you guys are going to be the only ones who taste it pre-lagered.
Ooh,
yum!
I am looking forward to that.
We really like these. You tasted it here first.
Yeah.
It's these surprises we get to do.
Yeah. Well, before we get into all that, of course, we have to mention that this episode of Beer Busters is brought to you by Audible. You can, of course, go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Sign up for your free 30-day trial of an Audible account where you can download and keep your own audiobook of your choosing out of the many books that are there.
Hundreds of thousands.
I think around 250,000, if I remember right.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, so, of course...
All the books in the universe that have ever been written by anyone ever.
That's false advertising.
That's totally not true. But the important ones are there. I have waiting for me the Science of Star Trek. Jim Cook also has a book on there. Again, audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Sign up for that Audible account. Enjoy your audiobook. Show your support for Audible, who is showing support for Beer Busters podcast.
And I will make a promise right here and right now.
Oh, God.
If, between the release of this and the next episode, we have 10 people sign up for trials at Audible, Dan will actually finally listen to The Science of Star Trek.
Yes,
a book that he has said he needed to get to since we started plugging Audible.
Thank you for making a promise that revolves around my schedule.
There's another place on the internet you can go to support Beer Busters. There's no audiobooks, but there's really cool behind-the-scenes stuff. You get to see candid photographs. You get to hear outtakes before anyone else. You get to...
See what we're eating on the table right now.
What we're eating on the table. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But go to patreon.com/beerbusters and become a patron. Help support the show. Be a super cool, awesome kid in the Awesome Kids Club. You give us a couple bucks each time we release a podcast episode, or as little as $1 a month to keep the Beer Busters train running. And we will love you from now until the end of time. Patreon.com/beerbusters.
I want to give a shout out to Joe Mann.
Hey, Joe
One
Mann.
of our most beloved listeners who's literally been listening since day one. I got to spend 2 days in Richmond last week, and I got to see him and his wife Angie, and we drank some killer beer. If you haven't been to Richmond, you have to go if you love beer. The beers are just... I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe it. So look for my article on beerbusterspodcast.com. I give you a lineup of all the places we went and the beers that I really loved. But if you're driving through or looking for a place to go, Richmond is where it's at. 13 breweries. plus a handful of really kick-ass beer bars. So,
All right.
Joe, man, it was great to catch up with you, and he also sent some beers home for us. So, we'll have to
Plus,
share those.
the brewers in Richmond are all awesome people who really deserve your support.
For
Cool.
sure.
I would
Everyone
also like to take this opportunity to apologize to Joe Man for not responding to his message on Facebook. He messaged me on Facebook, and I totally got distracted and never messaged him back.
You're terrible. Well, I think I
person.
made up for it because I gave him a lot of beer. Sorry, Angie.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm officially apologizing on the podcast, Joe Man. I hope that makes up for my faux pas.
God damn it, Wayne. Well, we do have an announcement that we've posted online for quite some time now and referenced it, but it's about time that we actually talk about it on the podcast. We've been doing this for a while. A little over 3 years at this point. A lot of fun. And I realized in my intro to this, I'm making it sound like we're stopping. We're not. We're going strong. We're going to keep going. But
It's
been a wild ride, friends.
it's been a wild ride.
All
We're
good
going out
things.
with a bang. Ethan's going to get us drunk, and that's it. We're done.
I am going to do that, though.
Well, it's about time
We
we
just
have...
pretend every podcast is our last. That's how we should live our lives.
Live your life like it's your last podcast.
But if you make it out to only one podcast,
One podcast. Now, we put events on our Facebook a lot with being the audience here, being the audience there, and it's a lot of fun. People that show up are very happy to be there. They get a lot of beers that we try on the air, and they get to know what we're talking about. There's one disservice that we do them that will change this time. Now, we're going all out. We're going big. It's huge. We're having a party. We're having a party at Canal Street, and this is going to be Friday, September 23rd. It's going to be our 100th episode.
one hundo.
It's a milestone I never thought we'd get to, and I'm going to save up a lot of nostalgic and sentimental things to say for then. But if you want to be there, we're going to have speakers. It's actually going to be live broadcast while we're there. Wayne's working on a special T-shirt design that we're going to have there and only there. There's going to be raffles. There's going to be live music and entertainment. There's going to be rare and special beers that people are bringing. I know we're getting a keg of the going to Easton that we did.
The
at Two
Beer
Rivers.
Busters Two Rivers collab will be there. Yes.
Yeah.
And every single past episode guest was invited,
Yes.
and I'm getting a great response of people saying, yes, we'll definitely be there, or we're going to try our best to be there. So it's looking like it's going to be a really, really great turnout.
Yeah,
It's going to be great because the audience is actually going to be able to hear the podcast.
Right. It's going to be
big.
big. It's going to be big. And we
gonna be
also want to do it.
broadcasted.
So if you got friends you think they'd enjoy a night out and they don't know who we are, or hey, for some weird reason they don't like us and they're dumb, bring them out, and it's going to be an event that's going to be fun regardless. We've got. If they appreciate beer, they're going to like the beers that Dusty's getting. They're going to like the band that's going to be there. There's a lot that's going to happen. And I'm throwing this out there on the air right now. We have talked about it ourselves. So we have this phone number that
Dan
we
was
set up.
gesturing to me.
And Steph.
And
We have this phone number that we set up. Now, it's 805-991-BEER. And if I set this up right, you can leave a message and we'll get it. And it's not going to ring. It's just a voicemail box. We are going to do a contest for the 100th episode that if you call and leave a message and you tell us your favorite memory from any Beer Busters episode or outtake that we have and tell us why, we're going to listen to them all. We're going to play the winner live that night, and you will get a 100th episode t-shirt that night.
Sweet.
And we'll probably buy you a beer too. Or something.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll make
come
sure,
up with other cool things to give you.
We'll probably keep going. It's still in planning, so it's only going to grow. It's lining up to be, and I'm going to say it. It's going to be an exciting night, and it can only get better from there. Not to put you on the spot, Ethan, but are you going to be there?
I'm going to do my very best. That you got like an 85% chance of
All
me
right.
showing up,
All right,
unless
that's
something
good.
blows up here.
I'll take it.
As long as the mill doesn't
I was
explode.
going to say, let's hope your mills don't explode.
The mill's
So that's
always exploding.
Canal Street in our hometown of Reading,
Pennsylvania.
Just to clarify,
Yes.
if you don't know where it is.
Yes,
great
Canal
spot.
Street Restaurant and Pub, fantastic spot. Dusty's been nice. He's put on a lot of great events that
We've
we've done.
recorded there a few times,
Brewphoria, we did the longest recording ever there, which
did.
was a pain to edit, but a lot of fun to listen to. And there it is. September 23rd, 2016. Be there or be square.
Mark your calendars, people.
Yes. And now, I feel like we should finally do some news. I'll admit I forgot I had news because I was going through that. I'll make it quick, I promise. And since we have a brewer, a home brewer and a professional brewer at the table, this article kind of took me by surprise here. So it starts off with brewers have a lot of tools at their disposal when it comes to brewing beer. Hops, yeast, grain, and loads of equipment, of course. But there's one brewery in the UK that is employing artificial intelligence to perfect its recipes, and it claims it's the first to do so. They call themselves Intelligent X Brewing Company, and it's a collaborative effort between machine learning company Intelligent Layer and creative agency 10X. Together, the two companies created algorithms that process consumer feedback as a means of helping brewers improve their beers. Now, this AI, it actually takes the form. It's a Facebook Messenger bot, which if you're not familiar with that, it's an AI algorithm you can set up, and you can like order pizza through it. You can there used to be this website you can go to and just like ask random questions, and it actually formulated a somewhat reasonable conversation with you, and then it puts together the questions and requests that it gets, and they can reprogram it as it goes, or with AI, it can learn as it goes. So anyway,
#tangent. I think there's a service you could get on Twitter that will continue to tweet on your account after you die.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting.
Yes. The questions take the form of 1 to 10 ratings, yes or no queries, and multiple choice responses. And those answers about the taste and the preferences are then used to find trends that could be used to improve the final product over time. Intelligent X sees the use of AI as a way to put the drinker in the same room with the brewer making the beer, a physical meeting that's nearly impossible to set up in real life with good reason. That was my own editorial. What's more, the system can collect and analyze data much, it says much master, but it's supposed to say faster, than a human can with pencil and paper.
I analyze data, master.
Yes. Intelligent X says its beers, Golden, Amber, Pale, and Black, have changed about 11 times since they were first brewed, and that accounts for a year-long trial period during which the company received feedback on each one. So if you find yourself in London, and you can try them for yourself at U-Brew, it's a facility where you can make your own beer. There you go. Artificial intelligence. Ethan, what do you think of that?
I'm not a huge fan of that.
I don't blame you. It's Skynet.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. I mean, my first response to that would be that if you're judging everything that you do based on what consumers are already drinking and liking, how do you create the next thing that
Right.
the consumer?
Innovate. Take a chance.
There's no room for creativity or innovation when you do that. And it's also only, I imagine, from our experience, right? Like, we maybe get one Untapped review for every 50 sales of any particular beer in our pub that we do. So that one person's opinion tied into the artificial intelligence would really strongly
It would skew
dictate.
it to that person.
Yeah.
And a beer recipe developed by an artificial intelligence system is, by definition, incapable of including love.
Yes,
my
that's
God.
true. There's no
That is
love
the
there.
special ingredient. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I think the last time Ethan was on, didn't you do the story about the fast fermentation?
Yes.
Oh,
Science?
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot
I
about
hate that
So
too.
it's all about like the bastardization and
Yeah.
like the cyborganing of beer every time you're on the
fast
show.
fermentation is nonsense because that's how fast beer ferments anyway. Like they were saying, oh, we could get a beer to ferment in 3 days. My Hefeweizen just fermented in 3 days. Like I don't understand what the issue with that was. But this I don't like either.
I'm
And
kinda with you.
it's just listening to feedback anyway, isn't that essentially what it's doing? I mean,
But it's letting the computer rewrite the recipe then, which I get you're trying to use cutting-edge technology for that, but there is a personal element to it with the experimentation, and there's something about going with your gut feeling, because if you're a brewer, you should, in theory, know about beer and what makes good beer and what makes bad beer. So you would therefore know from your own experience better than this computer does.
And that's why people want to become brewers, so they can create those recipes.
Right.
And make
it
beers
starts
they want.
Yeah, it starts as a home brewer. With a little bit of luck, you get better with those recipes that you have, and you keep going and keep going and keep going, and you'll have your own experience to pull from. And this computer is just taking crowd feedback. I mean, as a brewer, say, Ethan, if you implemented this, you'd probably have to program it and say, all right, well, I use this, customer X wants this, let's up that. But at the same time, you're the brewer.
Well, so as a brewer, I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, when responding to a thing that like a customer at the bar says they want, generally results in nobody buying that thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I give you a really good example. We brewed a beer that drank like a session IPA that we're really, really proud of. It tastes really great, and it's doing well on the distribution side of things. But in-house, we brewed it because I got a lot of customer feedback saying that's exactly the type of beer they want. We brewed it, we put it on tap, and nobody drank it. I mean, it's just a lot of times it's the type of thing where, like, we had the food trucks we started cooking food in-house because the customers said they wanted us to cook food in-house. But guess what? The business does better when we have food trucks here. So you get a lot of customer feedback. When people are giving you feedback, I mean, it's not unreasonable for them to do it, but it is solely their opinion.
Right.
And an individual's opinion in a brewery or any kind of large volume business that's trying to meet the needs or demands of literally hundreds or thousands of people is a pretty small sample size. You know?
And as a consumer, I have to say that I would trust your expertise as a person who's done this and done it before, and especially somebody
that's a mistake.
Well, yeah, I know, for so many reasons. But somebody in the capacity that you are, and you've had the great training, you've had the expertise, and you've been doing it, if I remember right, when we had you on last time, you've been doing it since you were, what, like 18? Yeah, so you've had years of experience to do it and perfect it, and now you're doing your own thing. If you would have listened to feedback on it, you probably would not have done your open fermentation style.
Oh no, everybody told me I was an idiot.
Of course.
Well, and that's the other thing. As a consumer, like, I don't mind, like, I'll talk about what I like in a beer, what I don't like in a beer, what particular beer I do like more than another beer, but I want to go somewhere and see something and think, oh, that sounds interesting, I want to try that. I don't want to, like, know. I don't want to be like, I want this specific beer, there's that beer, I'm going to drink it.
I want a brewer to brew something that I don't know I like yet.
Exactly, yeah. You're putting your trust in them to show you something that's going to open your eyes and your taste buds.
And that, especially for the craft beer world, I think that's the whole mantra. I mean, yes, IPAs are or were big, and then sour beers, and like, I want you to make for me what's next. I love this crazy open fermentation and these. I mean, this is neat. This is new. Maybe it's the next thing. Like, I was at a brewery in Virginia this week that all of their beers are brewed with a yeast that they cultivate right outside in the forest, right in front of the brewery. I mean, what a cool thing. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't want, those brewers are not doing what people are telling them they want. They don't know that this is even happening or that it's possible. I want something new and different.
And if you listen to customer feedback, it's all going to go off of the trends. Like, where we're at now, I think IPAs are finally on the way out as the popular thing.
No, they're not.
Well, you're still going to have a lot of people that want them, but I think
the first
they're
rumblings
evolving.
of
They're
It's
evolving.
now like these really heavily dry hopped IPAs and sour IPAs and session IPAs. I think the style is growing.
So
when you brew like a beer that is an actual like two style definition of an IPA anymore, especially when you live in the Northeast.
Nobody wants to drink it.
Everybody says it's a bad batch.
Yeah.
I mean, an example. I'll come up to bat for a couple of really good buddies of mine who make excellent beer. And I have a very strong opinion that Neshaminy Creek is perhaps the best production brewery in the Philadelphia area right now. And I really feel that strongly. They make excellent beer. They just released Shape of Hops to Come, which is an incredibly well-brewed, well-made, and very well-balanced double IPA, which is a hard thing to say about that style of beer. And there's a lot of pushback on the internet right now. Beer Geeks saying, like, it's, this batch is a bad batch, this is this is that. I've been drinking the living hell out of this beer since it came out. It's excellent. It's absolutely phenomenal. But like Steph said, it's just not dry hopped at 8 pounds per barrel with only 30 IBUs, which is really what a New England IPA is. And so, so the consumer doesn't know what they want. Because 3 years ago, 2 years ago, it was the same beer, and it was flying off the shelves.
And so you're right, it's evolving. But the point I was going to make is that if you listen to the consumer feedback and they're stuck in the one thing, it's going to stay in that one thing, and it's not going to get to the point to evolve where the taste will change. And I know a lot of people I talk to at work, they think sours are going to be the next big evolution, the big blow up that's going to happen. But we wouldn't get to that point if a robot made all of our beer and dictated what we all drank.
Right.
I'm glad
probably end up with like Soylent Green.
I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to say it.
Soylent beer is people.
Soylent beer is people indeed. Cool. Well, I'm glad we got to have that discussion, but I feel like let's swing back into where we're at now. So we mentioned a few things in this short bit that we've had about things that you do here. So we already know you do the open fermentation.
Yep.
And one thing I wanted to ask about is the food truck. So I know you did have the kitchen at one point.
Yes.
But you have the food trucks now, and you see better consumer response if you have the food trucks?
Well, so it's both, and it's people loved our food, right? But the problem is, the biggest problem with our company is we pride ourselves on being a really small company. We're family run. Everybody involved in this company is connected to our family. I have 2 business partners, and we have 2 employees. and one other guy that helps part-time. So at most we have 6 people on the team. So to operate a bar plus a restaurant plus a production brewery, because we're now distributing, was quite a bit of a resource strain and a time strain. If the kitchen had blown up, the way that some of the food trucks really get the popularity, we may bring the kitchen back, because there was a period of time during the busier season where people were really, really ordering a lot of food from us, and we were really proud of the food we were making. But in the foreseeable future, we really like making beer, and beer is the focus of the business.
Of course.
So since we're stretched so thin right now, until we can grow to a point where we can really feasibly, kind of staff it a little better, I think we're going to stick with the trucks. Plus, the guys are awesome. We just ate some awesome Indian pizza from Bombay Local.
Did.
And it's fun. We had some guys in here the other day from a truck called the Hedgehog Grill. There were 2 19-year-old kids in college who somehow managed to get themselves a food truck. There's a lot of cool stories like that. So just like the brewing community is collaborative, I kind of like to bring that spirit to everything. If we're cooking all our own food, it's ancillary to our business, but it's not really the purpose of our business, and we don't get the opportunity to support and meet other awesome business owners that are doing really fun stuff.
You mentioned distribution there also. So you're already distributing?
We are. We have about 45 accounts right now.
Wow.
We're in Philly and the 5 counties. So we're really happy with it. We're finding some success in that venue. It is a crowded field right now, but we're doing pretty well. Our strongest presence is in the city of Philadelphia. You can find us in the general area around Stickman as well, which we're doing pretty good there, and having a lot of great success on the main line as well.
Cool. And I always mean to ask people who have started distributing, so I'm going to ask you, what was it like getting that first account?
Well, I guess a lot of this comes to, we have a lot of relevant experience, right? So I think if you were talking to somebody who kind of came into the industry green, the story would be a little bit different. It's exciting to go to a bar and see your beer there, but actually our first outside account was Iron Abbey, and they bought our beer to sell at the Fair Festival. And when it was not emptied at the Fair Festival, they just took it with them. So it was just kind of anticlimactic, to be totally honest with you. But the second account, where I actually made a sale, that was awesome. Pizzeria Stella had actually heard about us, emailed us to hook us up with a beer dinner for Philly Beer Week, and asked to put some beer on tap. And it was really kind of affirming of what we were doing, because this really popular restaurant, a really expensive part of town, part of the Steven Starr Group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they wanted our beer, and they wanted to do this event with us, and it was really fun. It was really exciting, and we felt really good about ourselves.
That's cool. For anyone who might not know, Steven Starr is probably the most renowned restaurateur in Philadelphia. He owns so many restaurants down there that are all different yet incredible. Each known. So there's what was the name of this one again?
Pizzeria Stella.
Pizzeria Stella. I've been to Jones before. I've been to the Continental. He's got so many, and they're all great.
He has about 30 in the city of Philadelphia, I believe.
30 now?
He might have 30 total, I think, is what it is, but he's got places in Philly, in New York, in D.C., and in Miami.
Wow. Oh, so we got South, too.
And they do some excellent stuff.
Yeah.
The group, the restaurants in the group that have had our beer have all been great supporters of us and excellent accounts.
That's great to hear.
We've dealt with about 4 of his restaurants so far, and really enjoy it.
That's awesome.
So we're finding a lot of success, and we're really happy about the types of restaurants and bars that are responding to our products. So we're in places like Kensington Quarters and Bottle Bar East. We're in... We just sent an order over to, we're getting ready to send an order over to Tria Tap Room. We're at the Butcher and Barkeep out here. So it makes me feel good to see that the types of places, the types of bars that appear on those 25 best beer bars in this city or 100 best beer bars in this country or whatever, these are the places that are starting to order our beer. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a fun thing to see.
It's definitely a good sign.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So since you're stepping up distribution, do you need to start expanding here in the brewery or start brewing more? Where's the beer coming from?
A little bit of both. So right now, I was brewing like a madman for quite some time. I was brewing way more than we needed. for a long period since we've been open. So we do have a pretty good backlog of inventory right now, and we're sitting in the slow season. So at the moment, we're not brewing a ton. We're getting ready to be brewing like crazy. I've got 40 oak barrels filled with beer that should be ready right around the busy season. And we are in the process of expanding our brew system. We've got 4 new tanks coming, as well as another packaging tank. Some strong discussions about adding, doubling our keg inventory as well. So yeah, there's a lot more beer that's going to be hitting the market. We only have 1 flagship. We plan to add a second flagship. We only have 2 year-round beers, and everything else is pretty much a specialty batch. Some of them might repeat from year to year, but not necessarily at a set time. So yeah, we've just got a lot of brands and a lot of varieties coming, and a lot more tank space on the way to make that happen too.
And you've been selling bottles from the tasting room here as well.
Yeah.
At the end of June, you released Reasonable Deception, the Belgian IPA.
Yes, we did. I'm a big fan of that. If you like Psychosomatic, you'll like Reasonable Deception. Awesome. That's been our most popular bottle. But we've when we opened, basically all my test batches. We don't really brew pilot batches day to day, but because the open fermentation thing was new to me, and we have a very distinct and specific brand of how we brew. We brewed a ton of test batches before we opened, and we bottled all of them and sold them the first couple of, well, they sold out in about 2 weeks, but we had about 15 bottles that we sold when we first opened, and everybody really liked them. So as soon as it calmed down and we were able to bring bottles back into the rotation, right now we have 2 available. We have plans over the next week. There will be 3 more added, 2 sours, and some of the porter that we had on tap for a while will be in bottles, and we'll kind of go from there. We have a lot of barrel-aged stuff that we intend to put in bottles as well. So the goal is to eventually get the in-house bottle inventory to around 10 to 15 to choose from, and hopefully we can meet that goal.
Is the plan then to start distributing your bottles as well, sending them out?
Never say never. Right now,
no.
Right now, that's not the plan. If we have another employee, then maybe it will be. The other thing is, as much as our space looks big, we're kind of running out of space. We had just talked about this off air, but
Look, you're a brewer. You can always find more space.
Yeah.
You guys are like magic. You
Yeah.
just
well, we're going to put some racks in here, but we were just talking about this off air too. In addition to having to expand the brew system, another good problem that we've had is we started running out of seating in the tap room pretty regularly, so we had to add about 25 seats. So some of the spaces on the other side of the bar that we were using for storage are now occupied by tables and seats and things like that as well. So there's this other challenge of, like, even if we make bottles for distribution, where do we put the pallets till they go on a truck, So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Just store them in the church next door.
You have a decent amount of vertical space.
Yeah.
We got to get a forklift in here to make that work, though.
That's true, yeah.
But we were going to get one of those neato straddle stackers that you can, like, kind of ride on like a little chariot.
That sounds cool.
Speaking of the tap room, the upgrades are really nice. You have the lighting now and the nice long beer garden style picnic tables, and I see you added Jenga to the games.
Yeah. So we the inspiration, we always kind of wanted to just make a beer garden in a warehouse. That was kind of the idea, this industrial beer garden.
Done. You did.
Yeah, exactly. So when we first opened, we had these high tops, which were basically the nicest thing we could afford, and you could tell we didn't have a lot of money to spend on.
You could sit at them and put your beer on them.
Right, exactly. But at this point, we wanted to add the tables and we wanted to do it right. So we got a bunch of finished wood, beer hall style tables. We've upgraded the lighting, so now those traditional, like, little fairy lights, I guess you call them, that you have at all the outdoor beer gardens, that's what's hanging on the ceiling beams right now. We've got a bunch of murals painted on the walls with our different, our branding style. There's a ripped off post-prohibition ad in the corner, which is pretty cool. And so we've really been doing some major upgrades around here to sort of up the atmosphere, working on upgrading a little bit of everything. And
It's a really cool spot. I know Steph was here before.
I've been here many times.
Earlier on in the life of Stickman. This is the first time I've been in the brewery.
Same here, yeah.
And you'll walk in and it's a really awesome atmosphere. It's really inviting. And it feels super open. I know you say that you're, running out of space, but it does.
Well, with 20-foot high ceilings, and no walls
it
between the brewery and the tap room.
Yeah. But my favorite thing are the ghostly greenish yellow lights that are sort of shining up from behind the tanks. That is awesome. That's my favorite thing.
We can turn them any color we want. So in the winter we have
better.
We had them blue like the Starship Enterprise, which was pretty dope. Yeah, that was cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it is a cool look. We wanted to. We like to keep it a little dimmer in here so it feels like a bar. I feel like you go into some breweries and you kind of feel like you're in a doctor's waiting room when you're in the tasting room. So we wanted to feel like you were in a bar, but we wanted you to be able to really highlight the brewing equipment. So we came up with a little lighting scheme that kind of made it pop a little bit.
That's pretty cool. What you need is, I don't know, you need some kind of like glass of some sort with those lights. Maybe if you had because you got the cool line of growlers above the bar there, you need to get some of those lights behind those and shine up through there.
Well,
you sound like John Taffer.
At a certain
it's all about
point,
the bar lighting.
The problem is at a certain point. I mean, we get on ladders back there and we do a lot of stuff with those tanks. So there does become a certain point where I'm just going to start breaking stuff if we put it up there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier your relationship with Free Will. You were recently at Free Will brewing there again.
Oh yeah, we did a collaboration batch with Free Will. It's an awesome quad that'll be barrel aged in their, really renowned barrel program. I had a great time brewing it. Me and Sam were hanging out all day brewing it, and we will be brewing the same recipe here, but handling it totally differently. So you'll get two really fun batches. It'll be the same base beer, but at Free Will, we're going to kind of take an old school approach to aging it. So we fermented it with Farmhouse and Brett blend, and then we're going to age it in their sort of barrels that have their sour culture living in them. So that's kind of the old school way of handling it, just putting in these old barrels and letting it go. And here what we'll do is we will give it a kettle sour, which is a real new school technique. It's only really kind of come on over in preference over the sour mash in the last year or two. So we'll give it a nice kettle sour, ferment it with a clean Abbey yeast, and then when we add it into the barrels here, we'll dose it with a clean strain of Brett. So you'll get these two types of the same base beer, which is a real rustic looking quad recipe, and you'll get out of it the new school and the old school way of processing it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That'd be an awesome side by side comparison.
Yeah, that's
really cool.
I'm hoping that we can pull off some kind of joint event that would allow that to happen.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you also did a collaboration with Hidden River.
Yeah, we're actually going to taste that today. I think, right?
Yeah, I saw that on the list.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, we were just recently there. That's another awesome spot.
Yeah, it is.
Those guys at Hidden River have become fast friends of ours. We really enjoy working with them. We really enjoy seeing them. We're so close to them that either we're at their tap room or they're at ours as frequently as a couple of guys who've opened new breweries can be out of their own breweries. But they had a great time. I went over there and we brewed a Golden Strong that was dry hopped, which I really, really loved. It came out great. And then they came over here and we brewed a really hoppy beer with a really unique strain of Brett that I'm also incredibly happy with the results of. And it's been great. The guys that we've been collaborating with, we've collaborated with Currant Cider also. So we have a cider beer on tap right now that it's 50% apple juice and 50%.
I thought you were going to say 50% alcohol. I was like, what?
That's called a distilled spirit.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do
that. Yeah. But yeah, so we've been really fortunate that we've been able to work with all these other great guys and bounce ideas around and come up with some really successful and fun projects.
And you also have some awesome events that have been going on. You have a movie night coming up.
Oh,
Did I see that on your Facebook page?
The movie night, yeah. We got a poll running for 2 more days, actually. So,
to pick the movie?
To pick the movie, so until July. So I guess this will air after the poll's over.
Yeah.
But there's a poll running. The winner is Dazed and Confused, which is what I was looking like the winner is Dazed and Confused.
What are the other
Blazing Saddles, Strange Brew.
Yes, I love that movie.
I think it was Animal House, but I don't remember. I kind of handle the back of the house stuff, but so that one's going to be really fun. The movie night's going to be really fun. We have the Muscle Night coming too. That'll be on July 30th. 2 drinks, a pound of mussels, and fries for $25. So,
not bad at all.
We're about half booked for that already. We're taking reservations because the mussels, we're going to buy them fresh the day of. When we were running the restaurant, the mussels were the thing we were most proud of that we were cooking. So we're going to buy them fresh the morning of the event. So we're taking reservations for it, so we know how much to buy. And that'll be a great time.
That's cool. Do you do like any like recurring events? You just kind of always like come up with different cool ideas.
We haven't been open long enough to do
suppose
any
that's true.
recurring
Well,
Yeah,
it's like the movie night. That's something you could
That's
keep
something you
doing.
could do.
Yeah,
right?
I think we plan on doing that again. And the mussel night, whether or not we do that exact event, I think you can expect to see from us, if not every month and every other month, some kind of like very food-focused event. We're still going to put our kitchen to use. We will do a lot of these events where there's like, reserve a seat or come in during this time, and we'll have this special thing. We've talked about doing a clam bake as well. We've talked about...
Wait, Rich would be convincing me to go to a brewery.
And we've been talking about doing like a block party in September. We've been talking about the big thing that I really want to do that I'm going to make happen come hell or high water is our anniversary, our 1 year anniversary is right around Repeal Day.
Yes.
Perfect.
So we will be roasting a pig in effigy for Repeal Day.
Nice.
I've got a question about the movie night. Logistically, where are you going to put this? Is it going
You
to be
see
where
the
it's-
projector?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
So
already
for
projection
anybody
going
who
on.
hasn't been in here yet, above the door, they've got a projector pointed at the wall. And right now, it's an ad for the Muscle Night. So you're just going to put it up there. Okay.
Yeah, so and the tables, all the beer hall tables, and the high tops in the corner all have a pretty serious view of it.
Cool.
And we do plan on sort of rearranging the seating just for that night, so everybody can see the movie.
Cool. That ought to be cool.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. On 420, we're going to screen Reefer Madness too.
Oh
I've
my
already
God.
planned it.
So at least you're thinking ahead. I like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, it's shaping up to be like it's going to be, this huge thing you guys got going. It seems like it's going very well so far. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of thirsty.
I'm very thirsty.
We're reached the point in the podcast where we've talked about beer so much that I really want to drink
Yeah,
more.
I think it's time.
All right.
In that case, let's
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Oh,
Well, that noise is there because Wayne got to pick the beer that we're starting with. And, of course, he picked the farmhouse ale. So this is Beer from a Farm, which I feel like you may have told us about last time.
Yeah, Beer from a Farm is our flagship. It drinks like one of those newfangled Northeast IPAs with a real heavy dry hop and a hop aromatic, but it is fermented open top with our house blend of farmhouse and wild yeast. So there's a lot of funk kind of undertone in it. So the hop drinker gets all that kind of hoppiness that they want, but it has like a lot of funk and a lot of farmhouse character to it as well.
and I see it's made from everybody's favorite malt from Deer Creek.
Yeah, we use a little bit of Deer Creek in it as well.
Is it the Dutch?
It is the Dutch.
It is the Dutch.
It's a hair Dutch.
It's got a her Dutch.
It's got a hair of Dutch.
Wow, you were fast with the fingers there.
That's what I studied what I changed them to.
This is delicious.
This is
Thank you.
absolutely
It's
fantastic.
refreshing. It's juicy. It's tropical. It's
It doesn't
So
hurt
good.
that this batch got kegged 2 days ago.
Oh, so it's super fresh, too. Awesome.
nice, super fresh.
There's a lot going on
Yeah.
in this. A
Yeah,
lot.
it's like you said, it's juicy, it's refreshing, it's crisp, it's tropical, it's you get the farmhouse style from it, and I think I can pinpoint the Dutch out of it, but I don't know if that's just me thinking I can. But it's like this is everything I would want in a beer.
It tastes like
this.
good hair.
It does taste like very good hair.
No, but at first I got like the funky farmhouse characteristic, that nice rustic,
Oh, yeah.
little bready, and then like you start to get the citrus, and you've got the nice bitterness coming all the way through, and there's a little kick of spice in there, and very complex but very drinkable. And
Absolutely. Yeah, I like this a lot. And there's something to be said of the color and the haziness to it also, and then the aroma. It's this total experience of the beer.
Well, thanks, man.
I enjoy this a lot.
That commercial's free.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Next one's only $10 after that, $50.
No,
That's
this
still a deal.
now. We mentioned earlier that you have a year-round beer.
This is this.
and
is
this
the
is
year-round.
that.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
You know, and I wouldn't pinpoint a farmhouse ale as a year round, but I like that that's your year round because you would figure it's going to be the IPA or it's going to be a pale ale or something. But this will cool you down on the warm day, and it could warm you up on the cold day
Well,
too. It's like it serves both purposes.
For our purposes, it drinks a lot like an IPA too. I mean,
towards that end.
for the type of beers that we focus on and we make, this is kind of like our IPA. This is the type of thing that we're doing that is closest to that. So that's why we picked it that way. We like it the best. It's our favorite recipe. So
that's good. Yeah, and you should do what you want to do, and what you like, do that. I like that this is your own.
I've had this before, and I don't know if it's because it's really fresh or if you've altered the hops you're using it, but it seems a lot brighter and fruitier than what I remembered from this beer before. Or am I just crazy?
I mean, it might be because it's fresher. We've been around. We've refined the process a little bit. We've been working with different things, but the recipe is the same.
Did you put the recipe through any AI?
Yes, several times.
See, I was trying to get him. This is good journalism.
Brewed by Wilson.
Oh, God. Going to be Watson?
Watson.
Wilson was the volleyball.
That's right.
Oh, this is delicious.
Thank you. This batch is actually going to GABF this year. So
Ooh, nice. Nice.
We'll see what happens. Well, actually, 3 of the 4 beers we're drinking today, or 3 of the 5 are going.
Have you, not necessarily just Stickman, but have you submitted things to GABF before?
Oh, yeah. When I was at Church Brewworks, we won the Large Brew Pub of the Year.
Ooh.
That was the best thing ever. I had just turned 21, actually. So that was pretty cool.
How much do you remember?
Of the day?
Yeah, sure.
I'll tell you what happened. So
there's always a good story with Ethan.
I was working at Church Brewworks. It was about my second year at Church Brewworks. This guy named Steve Sloan, who I kind of view him as one of the guys that really, really taught me a lot about brewing, and I feel like a lot of like the strengths that I have in brewing are because of Steve Sloan. The weaknesses come from other people, but a lot of the strengths are from Steve Sloan. He really had a lot to do with me learning about brewing, and we brewed a lot of excellent beer. At that point, I don't even know if I had helped with a lot of it in the cellar, but I don't know if I had brewed any of the beers that had won. But that day, there was 4 of us in the brewery. One guy was at the festival, and then there was 4 brewery staff members, and we went out to the Church Brewworks courtyard, and the 4 of us kicked a 10-gallon firkin of beer. So I remember taking the city bus home in Pittsburgh, going back to my neighborhood.
You said 10 gallons?
Yeah, that's
2.5
gallons a person.
Yeah, it was a lot of beer. I got off the city bus in Pittsburgh, in my neighborhood, which was the college neighborhood that I was still living in at the time, and I took my shirt off, and I ran down the street yelling, "We're the best brewers in the country! We're the best brewers in the country!" Just like over and over, and nobody knew what the fuck I was talking about.
Of course.
I've won some other medals. One of the beers that I brewed at Free Will, after I left Free Will, won a medal. I believe it was a gold medal at FOBAB, the Festival of Barrel Aged Beers. The Black Friday quad. That's not my recipe. That's John Stemler's recipe. So the guys at Free Will get a lot more credit than me for that, because just being the shift brewer on that day doesn't really mean a lot. But I was the guy that brewed it, and I was really happy when I won. And we've won a couple other minor medals. I've won some medals at the LA International Festival with Church Brewworks. Some like Beer Tasting Institute medals for recipes or brews I've done out in Oklahoma. So I'd like to win some medals for the brewery that I actually own now. So here's hoping.
I think you have a pretty good chance.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I think you do.
Do you find it hard, since you have such a unique group of beer styles here, to choose a GABF category to stick your beers in?
If we want, it depends on which category you're talking about, right? So, like, there are a lot of broad categories that favor breweries like mine. Beer from a Farm is getting submitted into Amero-Belgian Ale, or like American Belgio Ale category, right? So it's a super broad. Anytime the category says hop character can be low to high, right? You know that you're dealing with a pretty broad category, right? Like Laszlo is going to Brett beer. And Brett beer just, you want to drink, let's drink the Laszlo now, I'm talking about. But,
Here, I'll pass this one to Dan.
But, yeah, so a lot of the categories we have submitted to are very broad categories. We're not winning a medal for a Pilsner over here.
Oh, this smells good.
Yeah, it does.
So this is the Brett Pale Ale, Laszlo.
Yes, yeah.
That's tasty.
Ooh.
Now, this for me is more on the herbal floral side, where the last one was very fruity.
Yeah, this is in the beer from a farm. If I don't tell you that the Brett's in there, you just think it's fruity. You don't really know that the Brett's there.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, this guy, the Brett's the star of the show. So this is with the farmhouse beers, the farmhouse yeast ferments down so dry that the Brett really doesn't have a lot of room left to work at all anyway. But this beer is fermented 100% with Brett. So you get that character all the way through. And it's dry hop pretty heavy too, but the esters are so powerful they kind of like compete with it and blend in and out.
And it finishes really clean.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. Because normally a beer like this with that kind of flavor, it would linger, but this doesn't. I get a little hoppiness afterwards, but it's very, very subtle.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like it a lot. This is the one. This is the one that I'm going to drink after we close tonight.
Nice. I really liked the beer from the farm. That's probably going to end up being my favorite tonight, but I don't know yet. But this I think drinks easier. It's cleaner, it's a little crisper, it's a little brighter. So this one you could really sort of pack down a little more, but still lots going on.
We've done a couple of Brett beers that have really surprised me as being beers that we've kind of learned to be a little more confident in what we're doing, because we've got a lot of people that have come in and said, like, oh, I only drink light beer, or I don't really know much about beer yet, or those kind of things. And we've done several Brett beers now. I know you tried the Real Speak one time when you were here, and the Mr. Big's Main Squeeze, and now this guy, which are like 100% Brett fermented beers, which we think of as like really challenging, high-level beers. But these are some of the beers that we found, because they finish clean, because they're really crisp, despite the Brett, we're able to give them to the light beer drinkers, and they're pretty happy about them, which creates this whole level of fun for us, where we get a huge kick out of somebody who comes in saying they love Michelob Ultra, and then they leave with a 64-ounce growler of Laszlo, you know? So it's an 80 or a 60 IBU Brett fermented pale ale, you know? So it's been one of the more fun aspects of brewing these creative beers, is kind of surprising yourselves as to like who can gravitate towards them. You know?
And I think it goes to show when you're throwing something like Brett in a beer, you know, obviously it's very cool to brew Brett beers right now, but it's not easy to do it well. You know, you could end up with a beer that's tart, that's funky, that just becomes offensive with all of that. Oh,
man, we've had a couple.
Yes, you have. One in particular I can think of.
Well, that was different. That wasn't a Brett beer. But we've had a couple although that's in barrels right now, and if I pulled you a sample of that sitting on extra Brett, you would love it. It's totally changed now that it's in barrels. Yeah, so we brewed, Steph is referring to a beer we brewed called Extra Gluten, which
that freaking Jen loved and ordered 3 goblets of it, so I had to smell it all night.
Which was perhaps the most polarizing beer that I've ever worked with in my career. I
just love the name.
We used a bunch of raw barley, and I was tired of answering that question. At that time, we had gone through a phase where like 8 people who weren't gluten intolerant told me that they needed whatever. That's a whole different podcast. But so we called it Extra Gluten with 3 X's, and that beer has, like, you know, you want to talk about Untapped, it's got like a 3.6 or 3.7 rating on Untapped, and the people who loved it, and it smelled like Parmesan cheese.
Oh, what?
But like intensely, and the people who didn't like it, like Steph, couldn't even be in the same room as it.
No, it tasted great. It smelled awful.
So here's a fun little science fact. The chemical that makes that smell is isovaleric acid, and Brett does a lot of fun things, such as synthesizing certain acids like isovaleric into like the pineapple flavors that you taste a lot in Brett beer.
Right.
So we have that in Sauv Blanc barrels right now, the rest of that batch, because as the yeast dropped out, that aroma got more intense. And when I started I got a kick out of it when Steph was drinking it, because I was like, oh, it's still relatively balanced, and for most people it's not super offensive. But once the yeast started dropping out and it started getting a little more intense, I was like, we can't serve this anymore. So we put it in Sauv Blanc barrels, and we put a lot of a really fun strain of Brett in there. And over the next like 18 months, that isovaleric acid will all be transformed into different fruity, like tropical esters. Hopefully, it smells like it's going that way. It still smells pretty funky right now, but it smells like it's going in that direction. So I think we did the right thing. So like in a year and a half from today, we will have this super awesome barrel aged, slightly tart Brett White Saison that I'm going to be really excited
You can
about.
tell me at
And
one
I'm gonna-
time
It'll
this
probably be my
smelled like
favorite
vomit.
beer ever.
And I'm going to mail a bottle to Steph.
See?
And I'm just going to write on the note, "Told you so," and that'll be that. But yeah, so that beer's coming. I'm excited about that one.
It certainly sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah, we've had some Brett beers that have. The thing about Brett is that when it mixes with oxygen, it starts to produce acetic acid or acetone, right? So acetone is the less oxygen, and
Also,
acetic-
one of the ingredients of the dip in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh my
yes.
god!
Turpentine, acetone, benzoate.
Wow.
Anyway, continue.
So it produces acetone or acetic acid when it's mixed with oxygen. So there was one beer that actually made it out to the market that we were not happy about after it started to develop a little in the packaging, because as you guys know, Brett beers will continue to develop in packaging. But the problem is that reaction only happens at high temperatures. And as you guys can feel, even though the customer space is very well air conditioned, the back space where the farmhouse beers live is not necessarily. So in the summer with our unsealed open top tanks, one of the learning curves that I had is I couldn't, with the high temperatures, get away with some of the stuff that I was getting away with in more conventional breweries. So there were a couple of Brett beers that either had to get like emergency put into barrels to prevent the oxygen intake, which actually one that's coming around really nice now, or had to unfortunately be dumped or blended into other things. So there were a couple of Brett beers that kind of did not work out, and we've just kind of learned that we can only brew Brett beers in the winter. So that'll be the deal. Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to give it a shout out to one of our listeners.
Yes, please.
We recently, as in like 10 minutes ago,
Like while we were pausing to get beers.
2 beers ago.
we met JR, a
JR.
local guy from the Limerick area that came out to see us tonight to be in the audience, and he picked up a We Should Beer shirt. JR, thank you for being a long-time
Yeah,
listener.
man.
It was nice to meet you and give you a high five, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, JR. But I think in that vein, we should have a little bit of happy fun time. I don't know, Wayne, does that sound
We
like a
should
plan to you?
happy.
We should happy. We have beard, let's happy. Wait, let me find the button. There's the button.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Feel the rhythm. It's going to get you. Cheers, fellow
Rhythm is gonna-
citizens of the podcastiverse, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the only podcast trivia segment that comes complete with English subtitles. That's an inside joke that one person listening to this will get. Today,
Is
we
it
are
you?
playing... No, it's not me.
It's not me.
Today, we are playing a game that we played before that I used to call something different, but I don't remember what it was, and I didn't look at my notes because I'm lazy, so we're calling it Brew or False, but I think Brew or False used to actually be a different game. But in this game, I'm going to give you 2 headlines related to beer, one of which is real and one of which is fake, and you need to tell me which one is the real one. Get it? Got it? Good.
Good.
Let's begin. To my left. Which one of these is true and which one did I make up with my brain? Is it beer cooler that blocks cell phone signals or cell phone designed to prevent drunk dialing? Which of those is real?
Which one is real?
Yes.
Either I'm sorry, run them by me again.
A beer cooler that blocks cell phone signals or a cell phone specifically designed to prevent drunk dialing?
I think the beer cooler is real because I feel like I've seen that somewhere before.
Okay, sounds good. Dan is going with the beer cooler. Ethan, what do you think?
I think it is I think it's the cell phone, because I think the FCC fines you if you block cell phone signals.
Okay, interesting strategy. So the non-drunk dialing.
I should
Although,
know that since I work in
They
radio.
are creating something to block your phone and video from taking pictures
There is a patent
during-
on the table for that.
for concerts,
which I've heard of
which
it.
I
Wholeheartedly
100%
approve.
support. I don't want to watch a concert through your phone.
Yeah.
I also would like a beer cooler that blocks cell phone signals. People are zombies. I hate it.
Well, especially now that damn Pokemon Go shit.
I don't know, but I kind of feel like the drunk dialing thing is a
Damn you,
little more
Pokemon.
important. I'm going to say the drunk dialing.
You're going to say drunk dialing. You and Ethan are incorrect.
Oh,
Because it is, in fact, the cell phone blocking beer
wow.
cooler.
There you go.
As
We
we've-
need to get one for Ethan.
As we've touched on, it's become increasingly evident that people are finding their phones better company than the actual company they keep. The Polar Cell Phone Nullifier hopes to bring people back as far as the 90s to remind them that a conversation in person is just as fulfilling and arguably vital for social creatures. It's a beer cooler that unleashes a bit of technology against technology. It was created in collaboration with creative agency Pain Conusao. I don't know how to pronounce that. For a regional Brazilian beer brand, the Polar Cell Phone Nullifier blocks all mobile signals within a 5-foot radius. A case study revolving around the Polar Cell Phone Nullifier, that is a mouthful, showed that people really appreciate the reminder to live in the moment and not be browsing to see what is better on social media. So, 5-foot radius blocking cell phone signals. So I imagine that because I think there are regulations that say you can't just willy-nilly block signals, but there's probably enough leeway there that a 5-foot radius gets through it. Oh, and as a side note, I actually once wrote a computer program to prevent myself from drunk dialing ex-girlfriends, and it was very effective.
Well done.
Moving on, and Ethan's going to guess first on this one. Which one of these is real? Sam Adams helium-infused beer or Dogfish Head to open oxygen bar? Sam Adams helium beer, Dogfish Head oxygen bar.
So, again, oxygen bars are popular down the shore.
Down the shore, yes.
And Dogfish Head
I love that he just said down the shore, by the way.
Well, I grew up in Jersey.
Yep.
Dogfish Head is down the shore, so I would think... Also, despite those YouTube videos that float around, helium is not chemically soluble in liquid as far as I'm aware. So I'm going to go with the Dogfish Head oxygen bar.
All right. Ethan is saying
I don't know.
oxygen
I'm going to
bar.
go with the Sam Adams story.
All right. Steph is going with Sam Adams. And finally, Dan, helium or oxygen?
So I have to tell you which one is real.
You must tell me which one is real. Those are the rules of the game.
All
Same
right.
as they
He
were
does
for the
not
last
understand.
question.
No,
That
'cause
hasn't changed.
in my head, you both said the same thing, but in a different way. But I might have been half paying attention. I think the oxygen bar is real.
to clarify, Dan thinks the oxygen bar is real. Well, Dan, you are wrong. Steph is correct, sort of.
I'll take my point.
No,
Because
you can't do a sort of. Come
For
on.
April Fool's Day in 2014, Samuel Adams decided to release a new
I
beer
remember that story.
with an extra strange flavor. Helium isn't typically a flavor used in beer. In fact, helium isn't typically a flavor used in anything. But that didn't stop Sam Adams from creating a flavorful, voice-altering beer known as Helium.
Oh,
As in
God damn it.
Yum.
It's disgusting.
Didn't we hear that
Yep.
the world is running low on helium?
Yes, there
All
is a
right.
helium shortage on Earth. Ironic, as it is the second most
Yes.
abundant element in the universe. This is not a real beer, however. It was an April Fool's joke perpetrated by Sam
I'm
Adams.
calling shenanigans on that question then.
Well, the question was it a real headline?
It was a real headline. It was a thing that actually happened.
Still calling shenanigans.
But
Shenanigans.
You call all the shenanigans, you shenana one.
Plus, Dogfish Head loves to make money off of anything. That's why I thought they were...
Yeah, but they just opened that other restaurant, so that's why I was like, they open a fancy restaurant. They're not going to open an oxygen bar. I don't know.
They
An
could.
oxygen bar on the boardwalk. Have you ever been to an oxygen bar on the
No.
boardwalk? Oh, it's great. If you're hungover, fix you right up.
Oh, yeah?
Fix you right up. With a flavor, too. Like, it's got to give you flavors.
All right, well, moving on to our third and final question of the game, and Steph is going to guess first on this one. Which one of these is real? Is it vending machine rewards inactivity with beer, or vending machine rewards vigorous dancing with beer?
Oh, it has to be vigorous dancing.
Steph is saying it has to be vigorous dancing. Dan, what do you think?
I'm going to say vigorous dancing as well.
Dan also saying vigorous dancing, and finally Ethan, agree or disagree?
On which part? Did I look like Steph or that?
Is your name Steph? Are you male or female? And which of these headlines do you
You
believe
broke
is
out some
true?
helium to change your voice to sound like her.
I am not Steph.
Okay.
I believe that I am a male.
You should have said my gender is none of your damn business.
My gender is none of your damn business, and I don't like being defined on a binary scale.
Okay.
And I would agree with them that it should be the vigorous dancing.
It should be the vigorous
But it's
dancing,
not.
But
it's
it's
not. It is inactivity. The Amstel Pause... let me say this again. The Amstel Pause beer vending machine. Amstel Pause. Beer. That's not an instruction. Don't pause here. It's actually called Amstel Pause. Beer vending machine requires you to do nothing. To receive a free beer, all one has to do is press a button and then wait for 3 minutes. After 3 full minutes has passed, a cold can of Amstel beer is distributed The Dutch beer brand collaborated with creative agency Next DC to develop this interactive marketing idea that rewards consumers who take a break from work. The ad states, sometimes you need a little inspiration to take 3-minute break to clear your mind from the day at the office.
So you just have to stand for 3 minutes in
You
front
push
of
a button.
Well, you don't. So you just, or like you can duck to the side, and like as long as nothing happens in front of it, it's like here's a beer.
I kind of think that's how it works.
Or does it just go on a timer and 3 minutes
I
later?
think I think that's how it works. I think like you push the button, I want beer, and then it's like fine, but it's not going to happen for 3 minutes, which means you could stand in front of it vigorously dancing for 3 minutes.
That's true.
So it rewards
Get a
nothing.
beer. It rewards absolutely nothing. Patience. Let's say patience.
Yes.
Okay.
It rewards patience.
I think I'd rather take the 3 minutes to go somewhere else and pay for a better beer.
Well, you could if you were within 3 minutes of a bar that had better beer.
You should always be within 3 minutes of a bar with better beer.
I'm never not within 3 minutes. That is.
Yeah?
I work at a brewery and I live in Philly.
This is true.
Well, I think that means if I kept score correctly, I think we're all tied.
No,
No?
It is not a German sparkle party.
it is not a German sparkle party. You don't get to push that button.
Damn it.
Because you and Steph are indeed tied with 1 point apiece.
But I lost.
But fucking Ethan over here's got
God
absolutely
damn it.
nothing.
The other time I was here, I got 0 points too. The other time I was on this board. I'm bad at these games.
Hey, it's okay. It happens.
I'm bad at all games.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's all good.
Go to patreon.com/beerbusters.
Yeah, do that.
Be awesome. Do it.
And then we're gonna do this.
No. Know your beers.
And Steph, what do we got?
I say we continue the conversation about Brett beers. What do you think?
Brett Beers. I'm
good.
in.
Cool.
I'm in.
So I was recently reading Gordon Strong's Brett beer style profile in preparation of this episode in the November 2015 issue of Brew Your Own magazine. American Wild Ale is a new specialty category, Category 28, in the 2015 BJCP style guidelines. Brett beer, style 28A, for those keeping track, is one of the 3 styles within the American Wild Ale category, along with mixed fermentation sour beer and wild specialty beer. Brett, of course, is short for Brettanomyces, the yeast genus responsible for much of the wild flavor of this class of beers, and is the common name used when referring to them. There are 3 major variations to consider when brewing a Brett beer. One major variation with this beer style is in how the Brett is used. A Brett beer may use normal brewing yeast for primary fermentation, with a Brett strain used in secondary or bottling, or it may be a 100% Brett fermentation. Another major variation is the type of Brett that is used. A pure Brett species can be used, or a blend of many Brett strains, or a Brett and Saccharomyces blend. A final variation is in the underlying beer. It can be a classic style, like a Saison or an IPA, or it can be described by its general characteristics, alcohol level, color, bitterness. For competition purposes, Brett beer aged in wood are entered in the wild specialty beer style, and Brett beers using additional yeast or bacteria, Lactobacillus pediococcus, are entered in the mixed fermentation sour beer style. Now let's look at the sensory profile. Brett beers can vary significantly based on the 3 major variations. And any generalization can be made. It's that Brett beers tend to be drier, lighter bodied, and fruitier than the base beer style would suggest. Brett beers can have noticeable funky notes, barnyard, horse blanket, wet hay, earthy, all those great adjectives, but this character is often lower in 100% Brett beers than in the more common case when Brett is used in a secondary fermentation. Fruity notes can have a huge range, although many fall into the stone fruit, tropical fruit, and citrus fruit families. The strain or blend of Brett is the major driver in the character of Brett, with the fermentation method a close second. Younger versions of Brett beers are typically brighter and fruitier, with older versions developing more funk and often losing much of the base style. For more information on Brett beers and a homebrew example of a Brett beer, check out Brew Your Own magazine, and for a free issue of the magazine, click on the red banner on beerbusterspodcast.com.
Yes, do that. Well, I think I'm still thirsty.
Thirsty?
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
So I got to point out, for anybody that's not here and you haven't seen it, we're recording back in the brew space, which is pretty separate from the main area where, like, the tap room, the tasting room, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
where all the actual people are instead of, us around microphones. I didn't know you could fit that many people in here.
It's a lot of people.
So you have, what, four people currently, quote-unquote, on staff, right?
Well, at 5.
Five. So 5.
Yeah.
So you got 5. Do they get breaks?
Right now it doesn't usually, but not right now.
Okay.
It seems
It's
like
pretty
they're pretty
busy out
slammed.
there.
Yeah, man. And did you say the truck sold out of their
The
food?
truck sold out in 3 hours.
Good for
today,
them, man.
so-
That pizza was great.
It's good you added more seating. Holy crap.
Yeah, well,
that's
that's what I
nuts.
was saying. Is before we were turning people away, so now but we added all this seating, and then it just filled up. I don't,
And then you still have to
pretty
turn
awesome.
people away.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, no, I don't like you. I'm
yeah,
kidding. Man. But no, that's awesome you guys are this slammed. And if this is your slower season, I don't really think I want to see the busy season.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Just keep putting more tables in.
Put tables
We'll
on
just-
the roof.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to
just
put
go
those
up,
racks.
go
We
up.
were talking about getting like one of those hunting tree stands and making like several tree houses.
Nice.
Great idea.
You know what's great though? Craft beer people are very, very friendly.
That's
Even
true.
when
That's
it's
true.
really, really busy, everybody just hangs out and
Yeah,
it's all
everybody
good.
knows that we're all here to. Nobody's here to get drunk. You're here to enjoy.
Well,
You're here to
Except
enjoy
Wayne.
good beer, and being drunk is the byproduct of that.
It's a happy.
okay,
accident.
fair enough.
Speaking of enjoying good beer,
Yes, there's a few things that are on the table here.
What do you want to start with?
I don't know. What should we start with?
Why don't you want to start with the flat one?
Yes, yeah.
Do that one
This
first?
is a surprise
All right.
we talked about earlier. This is capitalism.
This
right?
is capitalism.
This
Capitalism.
beer is called Capitalism.
You know, I was at a mall the other day
Ooh.
with somebody, and I mentioned that I don't like malls, and I don't think there should be that much capitalism under one roof. This will be the exception to that. There can be as much capitalism under one roof as you want.
wait a
with this.
minute. I don't know if I can drink this. Is this on Untapped yet?
no,
Make it.
You can put it
So,
on tap.
make it
it's
so
not even
first.
packaged yet. It's not even going to be packaged.
Is it allowed
for
to
2
be on
weeks.
Untapped yet?
I don't care if you put it on Untapped, but it's not going to be packaged for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But yeah, so it's a golden strong with like a small amount of cherries in it, so it's kind of like a subtle thing.
You get the cherry in the aroma, though.
Yeah, and it's we're currently lagering it, which is a pretty different technique for a golden strong. But I think because of the malt bill, it kind of looks like a Maibach. I think it's going to do good stuff for it.
And what do you anticipate what is the ABV? I guess you would know that.
8.2.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I would not guess that.
No, it's pretty. It drinks pretty easy for an 8.2.
You know, you get the cherry in the aroma, yeah, but then you get it a little bit like in the back of the
Yeah, and like
of
the finish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. It's a nice way to sweeten up the ending of it.
Yeah,
Tartan up the ending of it.
Ooh.
it's a blend of tart and sweet cherries. Unfortunately, they weren't local. Sometimes you got to ball out on a budget. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's very
This is
good. I like
really good.
The cherry isn't. It's subtle, but it's there. Like you can pick it out. And I think, and I could be wrong, but once it's carbonated,
It'll be a little more prevalent.
you'll be able to get it a little more.
Freaking Untapped doesn't have Golden Strong. There's Strong Ale American, Strong Ale English, and Golden Ale.
I guess we'll call. I mean, I don't care.
You have to care.
Golden ale, though.
You're going to look at this later, and you're going to go, damn it, she called it the wrong thing.
Well, my favorite thing is like we put a lot of beers on tap, and then everybody just rates like whoever sets it in first, like calls it an IPA. So like Halfway Crook, that is our Belgian black ale at about 8 IBUs. Somebody submitted it as a black IPA. We had a white ale with Brett in it that somebody submitted. Had literally the legal minimum to be defined as beer of hops in it. Somebody submitted as a white IPA. I hate Untapped. It's the worst thing that's ever existed.
I'm noticing that trend among a lot of brewers we have on.
Every brewer hates Untapped.
Yeah.
It's awful because what's happening is like you are putting like your heart and soul into these beers, and like if they're not good, if there's a problem with them, you know about it generally, or you're a dick face. But
Or
most
both.
Yeah,
Wow.
but most people generally know that there are problems with their beers if there is one. Most of the time you have to sell it anyway. It's an economic thing, right? Like, and then you get all these guys that just, it's because it's the internet, just get so judgmental about a thing that you've like worked so hard on. And it's even worse if you have a good beer that's getting good ratings and then somebody just like slams it. It's awesome.
Bitches probably love it.
Yeah.
And
Bitch is
Steph kind
proud
of
of
liked
it.
it. I love Untapped. I don't care.
If you're really into beer as a
I don't
hobby
care.
or like a pursuit, like it makes sense why you would love it.
It's a
right?
game.
Yeah, it's funny. You get badges and you get to like your friends get to like you and your friends. It's like, oh, look at the beer I'm drinking. Look at the beer I'm drinking. I get why it's fun. When you are the person making the beer that is being reviewed on Untapped constantly, it's like you are constantly performing in front of a group of people, and it's miserable, and it's caused me a lot of
because
problems.
that group of people is the internet.
Right, like
But-
from anxiety to nightmares to sexual
It's
impotency.
everywhere.
Like,
It's everywhere.
And that's the
Yelp,
name of the episode.
Facebook, everywhere you
I know,
can rate
it's-
everything.
I hate all of social media.
Moving on
This
to
is
another beer.
Compassionate fascism.
Compassionate. So, what is compassion? Not the beer. What is compassionate fascism, though? Like fascism, where it's like, all right, you're not such a bad person.
So, like, it's, we send you to the gulags, but, like,
There's pillows.
yeah, there's, like, sheets.
Pillows
Yeah.
and sheets. All right.
And also Wawa.
Ooh, that's a bridge too far, I would say.
That's a bridge too far. Oh, this is... So what's the ABV on this?
11.1.
Yes, it
Holy
is.
shiza.
Almost 11.2, according to these notes. if that makes a difference.
What notes do you have on the beer?
We've got 11.17%.
It says 11.17.
Who said 11.1?
I don't know. That's what it
Your
says there.
website.
Oh, that must be a typo. I don't know. We don't take it down to 2 decimal
I
points.
was
I was wondering, I've never really seen
It
one
is
out of
highly
two.
unusual, but I was going to
Yeah.
say, well, you should have just said 2. But
And on top says 10.1.
Yeah, because there was a typo on the menu. Before. You can tell we do a lot of things because there's a lot of typos. There was a typo on the menu originally that said 10.1, so on top says 10.1. It is really 11.1.
after 10, you should just stop counting.
Yeah, it's just
Really?
like this
Doesn't
is
really
a
make a
strong
difference.
one.
Strong
Yeah.
beer.
Well,
So this is a farmhouse triple.
Yeah, so it's farmhouse because we use the farmhouse yeast, but it really is like a Belgian triple just with our house yeast in it.
Oh, it's nice. It's not doesn't have that like candy sweetness you get in a lot of triples and like quads and a lot of the heavier Belgian styles. Nice and fruity, again, dangerously drinkable given its 11 point something.
11 point something.
this beer is really good. There's another flavor there that I cannot put my finger on, and I can't tell if it's just left over from the capitalism or if there's something. And I don't want to say it's cherry.
There's always a little capitalism left over after the revolution.
You know what I get a little bit in this
that?
beer is I personally get a little bit of that like raisiny character, that dried fruit character that you get from like heavy crystal malt.
There it is. There it is. You can tell you're a brewer.
I try most of the time for people to not be able to tell that because usually when people can tell that, it means you're a self-congratulatory douchebag, which I just was being. But
No. It works very, very well. I'm noticing a theme of complex layering of flavors in your beer.
As well as politically charged names.
you want to know some of the names of some of the stuff we got in the barrels? We've
Yes.
got
I would
Please.
love to.
in the barrels right now.
I did see. I just have to give a mention to chain smoking soccer mom.
Yeah, that's our smoked
That's a
wheat.
good beer.
Yeah. We in the barrels we have currently Mad Skrilla, which is that's not political, but we have the Marxist agenda. We have the Bolshevik beauty pageant,
Bolshevik beauty. That sounds like a punk band.
and what is the last one? There's another.
Vander beer.
Vanderbeer.
What is the name of the last? Oh, the commies are coming. Is the last one there, and then what is the other? Some that we haven't named yet, but we like to do any traditional Belgian style. We name in like some either is like a weird political thing, or it is like a hip hop reference. So you'll see on the board right now. You see
Because the hand in hand. of
right,
course.
yeah. Well, because it's old school, you know.
Right, yeah, okay.
So you see on the board right now we have Halfway Crook, and we have a couple beers coming up. One is a Methodical Man, because we couldn't legally name it Method Man. So it is a Methodical Man. And then we have what else? Oh, Mr. OG, which is actually Mr. OG is named after a colorful gentleman that lived on my street in Garnett Street when I lived in Point Breeze.
I saw that on the slideshow. It's running up there now.
Yeah, Mr. OG is a good one.
You
That'll
have
be-
capitalism, hipster nonsense. It's on the next slide. Come on, change slide.
I can tell you what they all are. Lady in the Streets.
Nice.
Put a freak in the bed.
Oh, Sensible
Sensible
Portions.
Portions.
That's a double IPA with a well, we call it a Belgian double IPA, but it's going to be fermented with a strain of yeast called Trois, which they used to think was Brett because of the ester character, but they did a genome sequencing, and is actually a strain of Saccharomyces, but it makes an ester profile a lot like the Laszlo that we
I
just
believe
drank.
that's what we used in going to Easton.
Is that
The Brett
nice.
Talk.
The fake Brett.
Yeah, it's
fake
really
Brett,
it's
yeah.
fake Brett. That's exactly what it is. So we can brew with a Brett character without getting acetone in the summer, which is why we're using it right now.
All right,
yeah.
all right. Is that make it conducive to kettle souring? Because that's what we did. Or am I totally wrong?
So
about
the kettle souring does have a big part to play with Brett beers,
Right.
Because lactic acid is another one of those acids that Brett synthesizes into like those pineapple-y flavors. But actually, a traditional strain of Brett would do that, would make it more fruity. And a thing like Trois doesn't have the capability of doing that synthesis because it's just Saccharomyces with a big ester profile. So what you're going to end up with in that category is probably what you tasted is like a much a sour that kind of cuts through more. When you drink like, the reason when you drink like a lambic after it's been aged for so long is because the Brett has like degraded those acids, and so like that's why a young lambic, despite the fact that the bacteria is growing, a young lambic often tastes like more aggressively sour than an old lambic.
Right.
And it's not because the oak has like some magic power to like make acid go away. It's because the Brett has a magic power to make acid go away.
Right.
Instead.
Much like Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
This beer just reminded me it's 11%.
It is, yeah.
I was drinking and drinking, all of a sudden I got here, I'm like, whoa. Oh yeah, it is 11%.
But that's like I find like the chemistry of brewing really fascinating. I don't know a whole lot about it. But when it comes to sour beers and using, strains like Pediococcus, which is so much fun to say, and Lactobacillus and Brettanomyces, I feel like that's where like the chemistry gets the most interesting because of all the crazy shit you're talking about where like, this turns into that, which turns into that, and this tastes like vomit on sweaty feet, but in a month it tastes like pineapple.
Right.
Which I just find that really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun thing to play, and in 2 months, it tastes like the way a goat smells. It really.
Got to find the sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. You hit them when they peak.
I don't want to chug this beer, so I'm going to put this aside because I know there's one more sitting here.
There is one more, which is also pretty strong. This is Cooperative Conundrum. This was.
This is the collaboration beer.
Yeah, this is our half of the collaboration with Hidden River. Shout out again to Doug and Kevin. Those guys are awesome.
Yes, they are.
They are very cool dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm excited you pulled this one out for us because they were talking about it a lot when we were there, and my mouth was just watering.
Oh, they were talking about this beer?
Yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah, because I wanted to bring up what they thought of your open fermentation style, and it was totally new to them, but they loved it. I asked if they were going to do any of their stuff, of that stuff there. They said, no, we're just not set up for it. So it's all got to be here. But you're doing one with them that will be served there also?
We already did
Already did that
I think it already kicked over there. It was called High-Minded Frivolity.
That's right.
Yeah.
This smells like a very particular spice that I can't think of. Or
cinnamon. I don't know.
Herb, if you will. No,
I haven't taken a sniff of it yet. Sniff.
Like a nice earthy, like a particular thing you'd have like in your spice rack.
You know what it smells like to me is lavender.
Yeah, okay, I get a little bit of that, but there's something, I don't know, but it's nice.
This is my jam.
Ooh.
So this is also 100% Brett fermentation, but you see how the strains of Brett that you use, just like the strains that Clean used to use, make such a dramatic difference because this is so much cleaner. I feel like you smell the hops a little bit more than the esters. And I feel like the hops kind of have the show, and you just kind of in like the middle of the taste, you get that real floral, strong Brett flavor. But that's about where it lives. It's not really anywhere else.
It cleans up after itself. It ends very crisp and clean. Is what I was trying to say.
See, but this is why you piss me off. Because I come here and I get these delicious beers like this, and I'm like, damn it, I'm probably never gonna have this beer again.
This particular one?
Yeah. This is not the first time, though, I've been here. I mean, I love the idea of you only doing 1 or 2 year-round. I get it. But come on, man. What about those of us that come in and we just find that beer that you just want to go in and drink all the time? And then you're like, I'm not going to make it again.
Let me ask you a question,
wait,
Steph.
well, hold on. Let's be honest, Steph. How many times have you ordered the same beer twice?
Hey, last week in Virginia, I had the same beer 3 times at 3 different bars.
That's a friggin' record.
I know. It's a beer that I love.
Well, let me ask you a question, Steph. We're talking specifically about Happy Brett beers, which we got 2 of on tap right now. Tell me, out of all the times that you've been to my brewery, when have you come here and not had a tasty Hoppy Brett beer?
Well, true.
It's never the same one, but there's always one in that genre. You know?
All right. So I can go, damn it, Ethan, where is insert beer name? And you can say, not here, Steph, but
There you go.
you'll like this.
I actually have a
All
pretty
I am
like
content.
I am
not
content.
it's not romantic to say, but I have a pretty formulaic way that I approach setting the tap list up.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like out of the 12 taps, one of them will always be like super approachable. One of them will always be a beer that we know will take forever to sell, like specialty beer, like the smoked beer. Two of them will be hoppy-ish Brett beers. 1 to 2 will be hoppy, cleaner beers. 1 to 2 will be dark or malt forward. 2 will be like very high ABV. Sometimes those categories cross over, but generally there's like I have a pretty strong formula of like 6 categories that I fill 1 or 2 beers with.
Okay, that
all
makes
the time
sense.
in the tap list.
So you don't have year-round beers, but you have a map that you kind of stick with.
Right. So like when you come to the brewery, you can always generally expect it. Like, say you came here and you really loved Laszlo and Cooperative Conundrum. Next time you come here, one of those beers might be gone, but Sensible Portions will be on tap, and that'll drink in the same vein as those other beers, and so you will be very happy with that one as well. If you came in here 3 months ago and you loved the B-side, which is one of our more popular beers, when you come in today, you'll drink the Halfway Crook, and you'll have a similar drinking experience, or at least get the same flavor profile or similar flavor profile that you liked, you know?
And I guess it's important to get that message out to the local beer drinkers to let them know that.
Right, yeah. And we try and tell people that. I mean, we do brew. We are probably the only brewery in the immediate area, anyway, that brews to like a very strict brand, I guess. We call it American Farmhouse Brewing. So everything that we produce kind of fits in that theme. So I think people, some people maybe simplify it and just say like, oh, they make the Belgian beers or the Belgium beers, depending on who you're talking. But
The Belgium beers.
we do, I think, have a customer base that knows what to expect when they're walking in here. They know they're getting funky stuff. They know they're getting stuff. Basically, what I really like to say is everything that we make is yeast-driven as opposed to malt or hop-driven, and that's kind of where we're at.
All right. I'm not mad anymore.
There you go.
It's all love. All love.
When you come here, you will be happy.
Hey, I'm just trying to give the hard-hitting journalism.
The hard-hitting,
The hard-hitting
investigative journalism.
I have one more beer to check in, and then I'll put down Untapped, I promise.
I just want to sip and enjoy this.
Yeah.
beer.
This is
what
definitely
I'm
my
doing.
favorite of the episode. Hands
co-op?
down. Yeah, I love it.
It's very good. I still think the what was the first one?
Beer from a farm
Beer
is
from a farm.
delicious. And that makes me happy that that's a beer that's always here.
Yeah, that one's always here.
That's what it should be called, the beer that's always here.
The other beer that will become always here very soon is Cousin Stupid, the Grand Cru. Well, it's named after my business partner Jim, who is my cousin.
My business partners are also my cousins.
Yeah,
And also stupid.
yeah.
And also stupid.
That's
Say speak for yourself, but
the
no.
story of that name is when Jim's about 17 years older than me. So when Jim was like 20, 21, and I was 3 and 4, Jim was living at my grandmother's house, who lived like right down the street from me. So I would go there all the time and just irritate the hell out of him. And I used to call him Cousin Stupid when I was little, because it really got under his skin that this 4-year-old, he was like a veteran, he had just got out of the Coast Guard, and this 4-year-old was just calling him stupid constantly, and I knew that's what was happening. So he asked me to brew that style of beer, and it really was a huge hit, and his instinct was right, and his description of the flavor profile was spot on, and we made an excellent beer, but I wanted to name it after him, so I called it Cousin Stupid to kind of commemorate that delightful time in
And
our
how did he
lives.
react?
Oh, he thought it was hilarious.
Nice.
Good. Oh, that's awesome.
I love you both.
You say that now.
Notice she didn't say we're not stupid. I mean,
Just that she loves us both.
You're not stupid.
Double negative. This has been a pretty awesome flavor journey.
Thanks, man.
I'll say.
Yeah, man. And
I'd even call it a flavor expedition,
expedition.
a flavor safari.
Wow.
Are we spelunking?
It's
If you want. I feel like we should have those headlamps, though.
A favor spelunction.
no, a flavor spelunk,
A spelunk.
a spelunk of flavor.
A spelunka flavor. I've never heard that before, but I'll take it.
All right.
It sounds
All right.
like a compliment.
That's what we aim for here.
Sounds
No,
like
it's kind of fitting, though, because when you're spelunking, you like you're like cautious. You got to be careful. You never know what's going to happen. And
Oh, I wasn't careful. I knew we'd have good beer.
but anyway, never mind. My beautiful story.
What?
These are strong.
Yeah. That 11.17 beer is it's hitting us kind of hard.
That's what it is now.
Yeah. At least I'm past the quiet drunk stage. But it's a shame the pizza's gone because I could use pizza to sober
Yeah.
up.
Oh man,
You're
I
soon
was-
going to need 2 trucks a night.
I was so worried that we were going to be slow and these guys weren't going to, because these guys are really prominent truck in Philly and because they're so awesome. And so they came out here, but they made it, they're businessmen too, and they wanted to make a certain amount of money. And
Yeah.
I was concerned that this was going to be a slow night and they weren't going to do it, and that I wasn't going to get that delightful Indian pizza without having to journey into the hellhole that is mid-university city. Yeah, but I'm very glad that they sold out. I'm glad that everybody was eating and having a good time.
Yeah, it was delicious.
And that was Bombay. What were they called?
Bombay Local.
Bombay Local. So you gotta check those guys out.
If you see them there, yeah, definitely.
And you have on your
great.
Facebook page when Bombay Local is coming back, right?
Facebook page and the website, we have the full schedule of all the food trucks. So
I am definitely coming back when they are back here.
Well, we got some other good ones coming too. So we've got tomorrow is the Mexican street food truck. So it's not just tacos. It's like tortas and elote and all the Mexican street food, like the Tijuana dogs, all that kind of stuff. We've got Captain Chucky's crab cakes coming.
I saw
We've
that.
Got, you can see it right there.
Waffles
So
and wedges.
Waffles
the
and
Oh, look at that.
truck.
It's conveniently on the wall right now.
yeah.
The Hedgehog Grill, you said about them earlier.
Yeah, the 19-year-olds. So just all kinds of good stuff is coming
The
in.
Hedgehog Grill, Heart
And
Food
we're
Truck.
constantly looking for more guys to work with too. So we've
Cool.
got the Meat Wagon Barbecue will be back.
I will be there.
You can come for the meat wagon. I'll come for the Mexican food and the pizza.
Or we could just come to all of them.
Yeah.
Come to all of them.
Let's do that. I'm a fan
Sounds
of that.
like a plan.
So you mentioned on the website, that is stickmanbrews.com, right?
Stickmanbrews.com, not Stickmen Brewing. They're in Oregon. Stickman
Stickman
Brews.
Brewing.
One singular man who is a stick and brews.
Yes.
Stickman
I
Brews.
love that. It's one thing I love about your brand is, I love the logo,
Thank
which
you.
is really cool and not pretentious. But what I really like,
That was the idea. Yeah.
I like that it's not Stickman Brewing Company. It's Stickman Brews.
Well, it's not Stickman Brewing Company specifically because we needed to be legally distinct from the brewing company
Well,
in Oregon.
It worked
No,
out.
but I
It's
like
really awesome.
Stickman Brews.
Stickman Brews.
Yeah, I like it a lot too, and it fits nicer in the logo.
It does. Yeah.
I like that the tap room is lined with the Stickman in different like the crushing student debt is
Yeah.
crushed by like a money bag.
Yeah.
And there was a couple others that were there, and I like that he had the elephant and the donkey bonding over your beer.
Well, that was
Well,
that's
Is
the.
this
The
like a show
Prohibition?
that
Yeah.
goes on Friday nights? I did not see this elephant and donkey.
No. So this
What's
is
going on here?
the
Is it
mural
like a
in there.
cover chart?
So
right
right after the repeal of
Interspecies
prohibition,
erotica.
Right.
there was a really at the time famous political cartoon that showed the GOP and the Democrats bonding over a barrel that just said beer on it.
Right.
So we ripped that off and we just wrote Stickman. We have plans for a couple other post-prohibition ads that we're going to be ripping off that are all going to be like reworked to be Stickmen. So we have like a just all kinds of old-timey stuff. We're going to do one like the mail pouch tobacco thing that says chew mail pouch tobacco. It's going to say drink beer from a farm on it or something like that. So, like ask your barman for BFF,
That's awesome. That's really cool. I love the creativity behind all that. So definitely hit up stickmanbrews.com. And the Facebook page, is it just...
Stickman Brews,
On
as
there
well
as
as
well.
Instagram and Twitter, all that
there's
stuff.
an Instagram and a Twitter also.
Yep.
All the... Well, not all the socials, but all the important socials.
All the social media that we can handle, I'll
Good.
tell you that
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
I mean, those are in my opinion, the more important ones anyway. I can't get behind this whole Pinterest or whatever shit is out now.
Or was the one all the kids are doing Snapchat?
Ooh, Snapchat.
I follow-
I thought that was just for naked pictures.
Apparently, no. It's
Not anymore. It was, but it's grown.
I have recently accidentally gotten into Snapchat, and I used it to follow Weezer, and then
Well, you just told me you were dating, so I think that it is for the naked pictures.
No, I have not sent a single. I have not sent or received a single naked picture.
A dick pic. What's
however-
it called when it's a chick?
Snatch chat, remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Snatch chat.
Yeah, we coined that one at Little Big Beer Fest.
You get enough snatch chats, you get your vag badge.
Yeah,
And we've gotten there.
it's there. 11.17, man. 11.
I wasn't even drinking that one. I still got half of that one left.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Well, definitely hit up stickmanbrews.com, and definitely, if you can, come out to the brewery, because this is awesome. There's a lot of cool stuff going down. You can, movie night is, I would assume at some point going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And muscle night, food trucks, lots of great beer, and you're going to have a hell of a time.
And if you're in Philly, go on stickmanbrews.com. There's a list of all the Philly bars that have Stickman beer.
That is very true, and they're always growing. So if you want to help us out, you can ask your favorite local bar to carry our beer, and they will probably do it.
Cool. That sounds cool.
And they will either listen or they won't.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's worth
exactly.
a shot.
But there's at least a 50-50 shot.
Or they'll
Exactly.
program it into their AI to see if they should do it.
Sure.
This bar runs on autopilot.
Yes. Well, we can't forget, of course, again, audibletrial.com/beerbusters.
Patreon.com/beerbusters.
So this has been pretty much the night I figured it would be, and I don't want that to sound bad for a second, because amazing beer, great conversation, cool crowd going on, and just knowing that a cool local business making good beer by somebody who cares about it is growing. And
This has
that's-
been an adequate evening.
This has been a much higher than adequate evening.
a totally satisfactory and reasonable experience for all.
The beer was good and the people were nice.
That's right.
That sounds like the show's title. The beer was just fine and the people were tolerable.
But it
A
was
survivable evening at Stickman Brews.
I walked out alive.
At least there were Oreos.
There were Oreos, even though they were not red velvet this time. But we'll let that
I
slide.
prefer the Fruity Pebble to
You
the-
are dead to me.
Whoa!
That's harsh.
I don't mean that. But no, the beers were amazing, as I figured they would be. Just going off what we had last time, and just knowing what you do, the different aspect you bring to it, and the fact that you care.
Thanks, man.
It's like Wayne might have said earlier in something that might have been an outtake, and I don't really remember at this point. The special ingredient is love.
the special ingredient is love. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I will say the whole American farmhouse approach I find to be the most interesting and fun kind of beer to enjoy.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate
really
that.
to me that's like I love all kinds of beer, but when you talk about Brett beers, you talk about open top wild fermentation and doing crazy shit like that and the Belgian stuff, like that to me is the most fun beer to drink and try. So I really enjoyed myself.
Well, thank you.
It
I'm
was
glad
adequate.
You did. It was absolutely adequate.
Adequate just sounds like a bad word to use to describe it.
I think that's the point.
That was
I
kind of the
know,
point.
I know,
But-
but I
but
feel bad
thanks-
now because it stemmed from something I said.
But thanks for coming, guys. I really appreciate
man,
it.
thanks for having us.
Thank you
It's
for having
awesome.
us. But this sadly brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And yeah, seriously, if you guys can make it out here, definitely come out to Stickman Brews. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
And if you're in Oregon and listening to this by accident, you should still come to Pennsylvania and come to Stickman Brews.
Or go see our buddies at Stickmen. They're nice guys, and they told us they don't give a shit about our name, and they're not going to sue. So we're cool.
Cool. Yeah, or go see them. And if you're in Pennsylvania, end up in Oregon, yeah, go to Stickman. Why not? Why not?
Absolutely.
And if you're coming, send us a Facebook message, and we'll come and play Cards Against Humanity with you.
All right.
And drink great beer.
We can do that. But yeah, Ethan,
Be a
thank you
fun
so much
place.
for having us out here, man.
Absolutely.
We're making a lot of promises right now.
Yeah. Well, I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and the demented and unfermented
Wayne Baker.
Squids. Next time, bye.
Bye.
Anxiety, nightmares, and sexual impotence.